Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out Entitled Parents. Story 1. Entitled Dad called the police on me for sitting in a pool. This just happened today and I'm so mad. I, 28M, autistic, just wanted to spend some time relaxing in our local swimming pool. I had black goggles and like to swim underwater. I also like to simply rest against the poolside and chill. Also, I was the only adult male without any children in this pool, which is clearly for everyone to use, shallow at one end, deep at the other, etc. I'm just resting by the poolside when a manager, not even a lifeguard, a bloody manager, comes over to me and tells me my presence and behavior is making someone uncomfortable. He explained that someone had complained that me diving underwater and simply sitting by the side of the pool was apparently unacceptable, because I was apparently doing this to peep on children. He told me this in a non-accusatory tone and seemed to sound as confused as me about this. At first I thought I was upsetting some over-worried parent, and being a parent myself I felt horrible. I explained that I was just relaxing by the poolside, offered to take off my goggles to put them at ease and even wanted to apologize to this person. The manager seemed to accept this and presumably went back to the parent to let them know I was sorry for upsetting them. About 10 minutes passed and the manager was back, telling me the police had arrived. I was shocked and asked if it was about me. The manager said yes and that they wanted to talk to me. This is when I meet the entitled dad for the first time, big guy, maybe early to mid-30s and pretty buff looking. This is the only time he spoke to me and all he said was, "You better go quietly or I'll tell everyone here you're a pedophile." He walked away before I could reply and the manager led me out the pool. I felt tempted to flip this Kevin the bird as I walked by, but I kept my cool and just left. I get to the locker rooms and 2 police women were waiting. Fortunately for me, they were really nice and friendly with me the whole time. After grabbing a towel, they started asking me what happened and what I was doing. I was honest and told them I was just trying to relax and had no idea I was upsetting this person just by being there. I even told them I was autistic, which led to one of the officers telling me they had a family member who was also autistic. They then asked me for my details to run me through their database. While that went on, the entitled dad walked by and one of the officers asked to talk with him. He agreed and they went elsewhere. I got changed back into my clothes and as I was coming out the changing room, the entitled dad was in my way with his back to me. I couldn't quite hear what he was saying over the other people in the room. But I did hear him rather loudly order his kids to stay put while he went to get changed. He walked off without seeing me and I left the locker room. The police stayed with me in the lobby until their database come back. Of course, it came back that I had no history of crime and the gym staff had told the officers I had no history of disturbing other people and I was free to go. However, the entitled dad was hanging around near the back of the lobby, watching me. The police saw this too and offered to give me a ride home since I had walked to the gym. I accepted since I was pretty shell-shocked by the whole ordeal and worried this guy would try something on my way home. In all, this was a really scary experience and I'm still shaking typing this. I'm just glad the manager and the police were professional enough to let me speak my piece. I should mention there were other parents in the pool who didn't care about my presence. Another dad and his kids were playing right next to me and he didn't care. Edit. Holy cow. I did not expect this post to be seen by so many people. Thanks so much for the support, guys. Let me give you a small update. I went back to the gym today to see if the same manager was on duty. Thankfully he was and he took me aside to explain his perspective on things. I'll call him Mike, not his real name. Apparently this Kevin seemed to be trouble from the start, being very irate with Mike as well as other staff members. The only reason it wasn't the lifeguards dealing with him was because they were scared of him, being 17 to 18-year-olds and this guy was an early 30s looking buff man. Even Mike, who was roughly the same age as the Kevin, was concerned with his behavior, thinking if he got near me that we'd end up throwing hands. When Mike first told him that I had offered to leave my goggles off so I wouldn't dive underwater, that apparently wasn't good enough. Then when the police arrived, Mike had actually just told them he was concerned for my safety, nothing about the pedophile accusation. No wonder they were so nice. I then asked Mike if at any point he thought I really was a threat to the kids. He laughed and said no, saying that when I had mentioned I had kids of my own, the fact that I had offered to apologize and attempt to de-escalate things, he could tell I wasn't dangerous. He was thinking more about me being safe than whether or not I was a threat. The police seemed to think that way too. At one point after I left, the Kevin was getting mouthy again and a receptionist chewed him out for his actions. Wish I could have seen that XD. Then Mike asked if I made it home okay and I told him about the police giving me a ride. Their car wasn't in sight of the building. He was relieved and hoped this event hadn't put me off coming back. I do plan to come back to this gym now since I can count on the staff to have my back now. But yet everything is cool now and everybody knows what a twat this guy is, so I don't think I'm in any further trouble anymore. Oh, and to answer why I left, I was given the choice whether to go or not. No one told me to leave. I was planning on leaving a few minutes before this encounter anyway, so I didn't mind too much. It was only when the police officer caught the Kevin staring at me that they offered to give me a ride. Since someone in the story too. Y'all, I just wanna get this one off my chest. So I'm gonna start from the beginning of this whole mess. I was a sophomore in high school. Mom had found her ex and brought him home. No problem, he's in his 40s, big and strong, but heavyweight as he was a heavyweight wrestler like Worldwide Entertainment, WWE, type deal. He was nice in the beginning and I was at the time bi. I was dating a toxic girl, but I'm not talking about her thankfully. I had one slip up on chores that year and he tackled me to the ground as I was bringing my Xbox controller to my mother. I told my mother to call the cops but nothing was done since I tried defending myself. I thought it was because my mother was scared for my life. My junior year comes up quickly and this is where I got more transphobic things from this guy and my mother defends him. He kept saying that me, a trans woman sitting next to him makes him uncomfortable, that I can't sit near him. So basically I was stuck in my room the whole time. I couldn't even be myself as I'm also an Abdul. It got so bad that when I turned 18 and my mother only let me wear skirts and dresses after they had burned my skirts and dresses, mind you, I had to go to toxic stepmom, and block my bio mom. This came in my senior year. I got back in contact with them after my graduation and their wedding. I know mom is still with that toxic man. The only reason why mom isn't getting anything done is because of his anger issues. If he gets that angry, maybe he needs to go to therapy. When I turned 19 I found my soulmate. He's a trans male, wears glasses like the cutie he is. We became a package deal. It was that way once I got him down to live with me. Yes, I was living broke as hell, but that was no issue. The first time we fell under hard times was the day after he arrived. Mom wouldn't let him live with me in my room, understandably so. The second time, they overstressed him, causing a seizure. His seizures are linked under two categories, blood sugar and stress. I had to rush to the emergency room to be with him for it all. I rushed so hard that I only brought his glasses and his phone, left my phone on the kitchen table. While I was at work, stepdad told my fiancé behind my back that if I wear skirts around him, he would burn them on me. I felt like I was unsafe. I should have called the cops for a threat like that. Sometimes the cops are good, other times they are not. There are many stories that turn out bad. It's funny that we only hear the bad, but never the good. I'm gonna wrap this up by saying that we are safe. My fiancé got in touch with their big brother. He's a weirdo, but he considers me his little sister. I'm happy to have met them, and he is helping us plan our wedding. Sorry if it seems like this is a sad story, but it has a great ending. Story 3. My dad is beginning to act entitled to things I make. For context, my dad, 6'4", used to volunteer to coach track at the same middle school where my mom teaches. Because of this position he ended up meeting a lot of students from my grade and below for years. Sometimes he'll ask me, "Do you remember so and so?" And sometimes the answer is yes and sometimes the answer is no. I've gotten back into crocheting recently and around mid-September Dad asked, do you remember John Smith, not real name? He was a year below you in high school. I tell him no, but to go on with what he's saying. He tells me that John Smith and his wife are having a baby and he thinks it would be nice for me to make a baby blanket for them. At first I happily agreed because I love babies and I already had the perfect yarn for it at home. Later on in October my dad asked how it was going and only then tells me the baby is due in November. I started panicking a little, so when I got home I was ranting to my husband about this sudden deadline because I had been working on scarves for people for Christmas and suddenly had a new thing due sooner, and my husband asks, why are you doing this for him? Do you even know the guy? I admitted that I didn't and my husband said I didn't owe my dad or this John Smith guy anything and that if my dad wants to give the guy a blanket so back he can go buy one. I even pulled out my yearbooks from junior and senior years of high school and there was no John Smith in any of the grades for either year. I decided to not make the blanket. Cue this past Sunday, when my dad said I need that blanket, didn't ask, just said he needed it, while we were out for lunch. I calmly said that I was working on Christmas scarves for people. Dad replied, the baby is due in November, Christmas is in December, as if I didn't know this. I calmly said, Dad, I don't even know the guy, and Dad got all frustrated and said never mind, just forget about it with an annoyed tone. We continued lunch and at one point I mentioned hoping to purchase a sewing machine someday so I can make t-shirt quilts, one for shirts I have from events in my life. Shirts that basically can't be replaced and are special to me, and one for my state t-shirt collection, hoping to visit and collect a shirt from every state. My mom mentions I can order some shirts online for states that I've been to but didn't get a shirt, and Dad said if he'd known he would have grabbed me one while he and my sister were in Minnesota last month. I thanked him but explained I wanted to visit the states myself. He grumbled something and then said, you know what would be cool? A quilt made of all my t-shirts from insert favorite college football team, and smiles at me. At first I liked the idea and said, if you can get them to me I'll try, but the more I think about it the more I don't like that his attitude tends to be telling me to make things rather than asking if I can or even want to make them. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.